Hello, biology class. This is Mr. Worley here. Welcome to lecture 10-1, Cell Growth. Please make sure you have your book available, a page for notes, and some time to do some learning. I'm glad you're here, and let's read together. Please open your books to page 241. Okay? I am reading from Cell Growth 10-1. Here we go. When a living thing grows, what happens to its cells? Does an animal get larger because each cell increases in size, or because it produces more of them? In most cases, living things grow by producing more cells. On average, the cell of an adult animals are no larger than the cells of a young animal. There are just more of them. Okay, yeah, and that kind of makes sense. But why? We're going to find out. Limits to cell growth. There are two main reasons why cells divide rather than to continue to grow indefinitely. Here's a key concept. The larger the cell becomes, the more demands the cell places on its DNA. In addition, the cell has more trouble moving enough nutrients and waste across the cell membrane. Great. This is a great quiz question. Why and what is the problem when the cell gets too big? DNA overload. As you may recall, the information that controls a cell's function is stored in the molecule known as DNA. In eukaryotic cells, DNA is found in the nucleus of the cell. When a cell is small, the information stored in that DNA is able to meet all of the cell's needs. But the cell increases in size, it usually does not make extra copies of DNA. If a cell were to grow without limit, an information crisis would occur. To help understand why a larger cell has a more difficult time functioning efficiently than a smaller cell, compare the cell to a growing town. Suppose that a small town has a library with a few thousand books. If more people move into the town will get bigger and larger. There'll be more people borrowing books, and sometimes people may have to wait to borrow popular titles. Similarly, a large cell would have to make greater demands on its available genetic library. In time, the cell's DNA would no longer be able to serve the increasing needs of the growing cell. So that's one reason why cells can't grow too big. If they do, their DNA wouldn't be able to handle it. Yeah. All right, what's another reason? Exchanging materials. There's another reason why size of a cell is limited. You may recall that food, oxygen, and water enter through a cell's membrane. Waste products leave in the same way. The rate at which this exchange takes place depends on the surface area of a cell, which is the total area of the cell membrane. However, the rate at which food and oxygen are used up and waste products are produced depends on the cell's volume. Understanding the relationship between a cell's volume and its surface area is the key to understanding why cells must divide as they grow. Okay, so that concludes the first page. What did we learn? We learned that there were two reasons why a cell has to grow, or two reasons that limit cell growth. If a cell gets too big, its DNA gets overloaded. And if a cell gets too big, the cell has a hard time getting enough oxygen and nutrients in and getting all of the waste out. Before we move on to the next page, take a look at our vocabulary, cell division, and what key concepts, what problems does growth cause for the cell? Okay, cool. Let's go back and look at our objectives. Explain the problems that growth causes for a cell. Okay, we're kind of explaining that right now because of DNA overload and the exchange of materials. Please go ahead and move on to the next video, page 204.